This week, we wanted to show you how to make one of my personal favorite Chinese rice porridges, Teochew Seafood Congee. Outside at restaurants, it's served in a big clay pot and is the perfect accompaniment to a chaoshan meal or even some late-night Chinese barbecue. So, to get started with Teochew rice porridge, you need rice. This is 1 cup zhenju mi. It's a sort of short grain rice with a solid amount of amylopectin. And if you're abroad, something like a Japanese short grain, like the sort for sushi, would probably be an ideal sub. Now rinse the rice to get out some of the starch. This is congee, so we don't want to go too crazy here. Just rinse it 2 or maybe 3 times until the water looks something like this. Drain out the water and toss that into a metal pot. The ratio that we're working with this congee is 10:1, so add in 10 cups water to your pot. For a nice boost of flavor, we'll also be tossing in 12 dried scallops, and you could alternatively sub in dried shrimp, and 4 slices dato cai. Dato cai, called chong tsoi in Cantonese, is a dried and fermented turnip. It should be available at Chinese supermarkets, but if you can't find this specifically, you could also use an unseasoned jia cai. And if you're totally out of luck, feel free to move forward and skip it. Dato cai adds a real classic flavor, but it'll be tasty either way. Now cover, and over a medium-high flame, bring that up to a boil. Once it's at a boil, you can see that things are really starting to get frothy. Overflowing congee is probably a finalist for the most painful possible kitchen cleanups, so to help cut it, toss in a small, light metal spoon. You'll still need a watchful eye, but it'll make your life a bit easier. Heat on low now, cover, and let that cook for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, this is what we're looking at. You want your rice to be at about this consistency. It should have lost much of its structure, but we're still looking at separate individual grains. The liquid should be starchy and have a little bit of body. If you're not quite at this point after 20 minutes, just cook it for a few minutes longer till you get here. So this will be our jodi, our congee base. At restaurants, they basically keep this stuff around, adding seafood and seasoning to order, which makes this super convenient logistically when you're making a meal at home. Prep your seafood, fry some stuff, and get back to the congee when you're ready. Now, there's a bunch of different seafood you can toss in here, but my personal order is always shrimp and oysters. To prep the oysters, toss in a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of cornstarch, and a cup or so of water. The salt and cornstarch helps draw out and remove any sediment from the oysters, so after letting it sit for 5 or 10 minutes, drain it out, give those an extremely thorough rinse, and transfer to a strainer. For the shrimp, the best way to prep these is to cut them shell on in half lengthwise. This makes the shrimp easier to eat, but lets us keep the heads and shells on for flavor. Kind of a pain. What I like to do is take a paring knife, first cut off the whiskers, then cut into the shrimp in the back behind the head, slicing through to the other side. Cut down through the back of the shrimp, keeping the knife slightly angled downward, then turn and cut through the head. At this point, you could devein if you like, but I usually don't bother if I'm cooking for myself. Once you've worked through all those, give them a quick rinse to get out the blood, and we are ready to make some congee. So, the classic pot to use for this is a large clay pot, but that's just because it's awesome at retaining heat, so cast iron would also work great. Pour in your congee base, removing those pieces of preserved vegetable and, of course, your metal spoon. Now toss over a medium-high heat, cover, and bring it up to a boil. Once it's at a light boil, add in 1 inch of julienne ginger and 2 teaspoons of salt. Then go in with the shrimp, cook for about a minute, and toss in the oysters. Cook for about 30 seconds or so, then go in with some sesame sauce. That sesame sauce was a half tablespoon sesame paste mixed in with roughly a tablespoon or 2 of hot boiled water combined till smooth. Nut pastes are classic with Teochew Seafood Congee. Besides sesame, some restaurants use peanut or walnut, all personal preference. And now, this is ready to serve. At the table, toss some congee in a bowl and add in a dollop of yellow soybean paste. This is a variety of soybean paste called puning doujiang. It's awesome in this dish, but again, feel free to skip it if you gotta. We'll also sprinkle on some minced Chinese celery, and Western celery would also work, and a bit of chopped cilantro. And now, it's good to eat. Just mix and devour.
So we choose shrimp and oyster in it because we really like the shrimp here. It adds really nice flavor to the congee. But besides oyster, you can also use fish or clam or squid or whatever seafood you like. So check out the red link in the description box for detailed recipe. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon. And of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.